Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the Russian T5 heavy tank, the KV-1S. So is this tank any damn good? Yes, it's a good tank. Yes, so the KV-1S, or as I like to call it, the KV-1 Sport. Because basically, it's a faster version of the KV-1 with lighter armour. Pretty much sums it up, really. Now, it has 660 hit points, which is kind of average for a Tier 5 heavy tank, and that's 20 more hit points than the KV-1. But the Churchill 3, the Premium, and the standard Churchill 1 both have 700 hit points, and that's the most in this class. The least is actually the KV-1 with 640. So weight-wise, this tank weighs in around 44 tonne, which is about average. The lightest is actually the VK-3001H, the German. Unusual for a German tank to be the lightest. That's 36.8 tonne. And the KV-220 is the heaviest, the Premium, with about 62, 63 tonne. Now, speed-wise, this is the fastest tank, fastest heavy tank in its tier. 43 kilometres an hour in forward and 11 kilometres an hour in reverse. Now, 43 in forward, it has a bit of trouble doing that on the flat. But it gets a bit of a run up, it can get there, but it is definitely a lot faster than the other heavies. And not fast enough to treat it as a medium though, but it is very refreshing for a heavy to be this quick. The slowest one in class is the Churchill with around 26 kilometers an hour. Now, the track traversed on this tank is 30 degrees a second, which is pretty darn good. The best in class is the Premium Excelsior with 32. So it's not much under that, really. So this is pretty much the second best track traverse. So it does have the best speed and it has good track traverse, so it's a very mobile, maneuverable tank. The turret traverse of 29 degrees is kind of on the upper side of average. Compared to the KV-1 has a 25 turret traverse, so it's a little bit slower, but its track traverse is only 20 compared to the 30 on this. So this is much more maneuverable than the KV-1, and it's probably one of the most maneuverable tanks. The best turret traverse, though, goes to the Premium T14 with 40 degrees, and there are others like the French BDR G1B that has about 27. So it's not super fast on the turret traverse, but the track traverse and speed are very good. Now, the view range on this tank is not too bad, actually. It's 340 metres. It's 30 metres more than the KV-1 and the KV-220, which have the least view range in class. The best view range in class is the German VK-3001H with 360. So 340 is not too bad. Signal range of, 440 there is on the lower side of average, so kind of does rely on other tanks to be spotting targets at range, but you probably won't be at range that much with this tank anyway. Camouflage wise, the tank has reasonably good camouflage for a heavy tank. The best in class is the Premium English Excelsior, but it's not too much behind that. The worst in class would be the T1 heavy, the American heavy tank. Now, the gun on this tank, well, the gun depression's a little unusual, so I'll just explain it. So, the tank has changed colour. I was just double checking my figures to make sure I had this right. So, the Howitzer gun, which is seen here, the 122mm, if you have this gun fitted, you'll have 5 degrees of gun depression and 20 degrees of elevation. Now, 5 degrees gun depression isn't very good. Now, if you fit the 85mm, seen here, you will only have 3.5 degrees of gun depression and 15 degrees of elevation. 3.5 degrees is the worst of any Tier 5 heavy tank. The next worst being the Churchill 1 with 4 degrees of gun depression. So, it is a problem. However, unlike the Churchill, this tank is fairly quick for a heavy tank, so you are able to use the terrain to allow you to get your gun on target. So you can get your tank tilting down on a slope to make up for the gun depression, or using the side of hills and things. As long, you have to be careful, of course, but at least you've got that option because you have the maneuverability in this tank. So it is bad, but it's not as bad as it would be on a slow tank. For example, the KV-85, that the next tier, also has terrible gun depression, but it's nowhere near as quick as this, and it's much more of a problem in the tier 6 version. Now, the grind for this tank, let's have a quick look. Now, it turns out I didn't actually have to grind anything because I had the previous tier 6 KV-1S, so when they gave us this tank, everything was researched. So I can't really speak about what the other modules are going to do and all that. So, but let's get the guns up. Pretty much the same guns as you have on the KV-1, but they do work slightly differently. So on the left here, I've got the 85mm, which is a really good gun. It has 12 rounds per minute rate of fire, which is really, really good for a heavy tank. So just like the KV-1, fantastic rate of fire. It has 119mm of pen, which is really odd. The KV-1 has 120mm of pen. So for some reason, they've given it 1mm less pen. It does 160 damage, which is exactly the same as the KV-1. And for that rate of fire, it's really good. 0.42 accuracy isn't very good, but it's kind of normal for heavy tanks. So yeah, it's not a sniper. The KV-1 has basically the same accuracy as this gun. However, the aiming time of 2.5 seconds is very, very good and is a lot better than it was on the KV-1. I think on the KV-1 it was 2.9 seconds, so 2.5 is a big improvement, and for a heavy tank that's a pretty fast aiming time. I think what they're doing there is compensating for the fact that you don't have as much armor in this tank and you don't have the gun depression either, so you kind of tend to have to expose your tank more to take a shot, and they sped up the aiming time up. I'm pretty sure that's to compensate for those two things. So yeah, the gun pretty much is probably better than the gun is on the KV-1S, except it doesn't have the gun depression. So yeah. Now the Howitzer on the right here, also quite similar in that it does the same penetration, same damage, 61 pen with 450 damage with HE ammunition, and 140 penetration with heat, giving 370 damage. So big damage Howitzer, 122mm, exactly the same as the KV-1 in that respect. I was hoping, because the KV-1S is faster, that I'd be able to get to the sides of tanks and the rear of tanks, like outflank them and blast them in the sides, because that was the problem with the KV-1. The KV-1, everybody saw you coming, and when you were firing at them, you're hitting the front, the strong parts of their armor, and you didn't do that much damage. So I was hoping to get side shots. Kind of not fast enough, in my view, to do that, because it's quick for a heavy, but it's not quick. So it's not medium tank speed and maneuverability. So I found I couldn't outflank and I couldn't sneak up on people and get side shots that much. So it doesn't work as well as I thought it would, but it's still a pretty good gun. The accuracy though is terrible at 0.58, and that is worse than the KV-1. The KV-1 accuracy was about 0.55, I think, and 0.58 is truly awful. The aiming time of 2.9 seconds is pretty slow, and I think is the same as it was on the KV-1. The reload time though, 5.17, is also very slow, and is a little bit slower, just slightly slower than the KV-1. So slow aim time, the potential to do big damage, but if you hit the wrong part of the armor, the damage is much less. And of course, with that accuracy, it's pretty hard to dictate what part of the armor you get. You really just have to aim for the center of mass and hope you hit the tank. You can miss. I've missed at the side, full-on shot at the side of a tank, 50 meters away, miss. So that does happen, and it's tragic when it happens because you've got such a long reload time. So once you miss with that gun, you can be rushed. Alright, I think I've said about as much as I can about this tank. It is pretty good. The speed kind of balances out with the less armor, and I've found versus the KV-1, I did pretty much the same in this as I did in the KV-1, insofar as, although my win rate's a lot better in this tank, but I think that's because I wasn't as experienced when I first started driving the KV-1. But win rates aside, my damage ratio and kill ratio and all that sort of thing is pretty much the same as it is in the KV-1. So pretty similar results, but just in a little bit of a different way. So for the gameplay that you will see, I have a small repair kit, large repair kit, large first aid kit fitted. I have a gun rammer, gun lane drive, and vents, all designed to speed up the loading time and speed up the aiming time. The crew is fully trained, and the commander has repairs and is working on camouflage. The gunner has repairs, camouflage, is working on snapshot. The driver has camouflage repairs and is working on smooth ride. The radio operator has repairs, signal boosting, is working on situational awareness. Yes, I know signal boosting is a waste of time, but it's a very old crew. And repairs 100%, camouflage 100%, and working on firefighting. So let's have a look at Tank Inspector and then get into some gameplay. The KV-1S in Tank Inspector. Let's get into the colorized view and have a looky. So we can see here the lower glacis is 60mm. We have a thin band here of 75 with 65 on top of that. The upper plate here is 50mm, and this front plate here is 75. Now that 75mm there is the same as the KV-1, and the lower plate, though, I think it's 75 on the KV-1, it's only 60 here. The main difference with the hull armor, though, is the side is weaker. The KV-1 has 75mm here, and it's only 60 here, which means we can't angle the tank as much as the KV-1. The KV-1, you could sit on a 45-degree angle, and the armor becomes really good, like you can see, getting 100 and something there. Now, on this tank, you can't do that. You can only probably angle, what do we got here, 97, it's coming up, 90, yeah, so you can probably angle about that much. More than that, you're probably going to get pinned in the side, so, which means you can't get the front armor as strong as you can on a KV-1. The main problem, though, with this compared to the KV-1 is the turret is quite a bit weaker. So the KV-1 had 110mm, whereas this tank has 82mm, and it's pretty flat on the front, so it's pretty easy to pin. As you get towards the cheeks here more, it does end up becoming a ricochet, which is good. The sides, though, are the same. There are 82mm, and the back is 82mm, so at least it's consistent. But the KV-1 has 110mm all around on the turret. The other thing this has, as you can probably tell, is an enormous scopola, which is only 60mm thick. So that then enables basically scout tanks to penetrate your tank from any direction. So even if you're hull down, you can be penetrated by scout tanks, which is a bit of a problem. The rear of the hull is also 60mm. Top deck is 30, as is the top of the turret. And the top deck at the front here is 40, which is kind of nice. So you can bounce, if you angle your tank, you can bounce. I've found I can bounce tier 5 heavies fairly well, actually. But tier 6 and above heavies, the hull armor doesn't present a problem at all. You will present problems to tier 6, some tier 6 mediums though, and a lot of light tanks. But with heavy tanks, once they're at your same tier as you, they pretty much will punch through you. So it's not the kind of tank where you can brawl against other heavies using your armor. And the turret can be pinned by them pretty easily and pretty consistently as well. So yeah, the answer is basically pop out from behind, cover, shoot, or just try and outflank people and hit them. But try not to use your armor because it isn't great. Alright, let's get into some gameplay and see how it goes.
Time to roll out.
The map is Highway, and it's a tier 5 game, which is good because we're in a tier 5 Russian heavy tank, the KV-1S. Now there are 3 tier 5 heavies on each team, plus a bunch of other tier 5s. There are a lot of tier 5s in the game. And there's some tier 4s and tier 3s as well. Now, we both have 2 KV-1s. They have a Churchill 3, and we have the KV-1 Sport, which is me. The Sport doesn't really stand for Sport, but I just call it KV-1 Sport because I think it suits the tank. So I can see that they have 2 KV-1s. Now it's difficult for this to penetrate a KV-1, so I decided to give this KV-1 in my team a bit of a push, a bit of a helping hand. Now you may think I'm doing that because I'm a really nice guy, and I am, but I'm not pushing him because of that. I'm pushing him because my armor isn't as good as his, and I want the enemy to have something else to shoot at that bounces. So I'm giving you a push. I'm just checking out this Panzer 3 on the way up to see if I can get a shot on the way up. And I stop, but someone else kills him. So anyway, we've helped the KV-1 get up the hill. And so you can see the KV-1 Sport is quite a bit faster than the KV-1. We caught up to him easily going up the hill and sort of overtaking him now. So we're doing sort of 34, 35, so that the stated speed is accurate, but it does take a while to get there. So Panzer 4H, no, he's back a bit, I can't really get him. This is dangerous here, and we've got a Churchill 3 sitting there. So do I try and get a shot on him? He puts one into me straight away. Oh, I bounced off him. That's not good. Now I'm in a bad position. I'm just going to have to go for it and wear the shot. So, 184 from a KV-1. The Churchill actually bounces off me. I didn't even see that KV-1. Well, that was more damage than I intended to wear. 184, and that was an AP round. Gee, he rolled high. Alright, so we side scrape out, and we get one into that guy there. The KV-1 bounced off us. We are very well. We're only just giving him a bit of our side. So, KV-1 bounces another shot off us. This Panzer 3 is making his way up. I fire at him but missed due to lag. It looked like I missed there, but when I was actually playing the game I fired well within time, but just lag caused it to miss. So anyway, we managed to take care of him. He really did the bad move there. Unfortunately, all I've really got to shoot in that KV-1 is a turret. Now the turret on the KV-1 is 110mm all round, whereas our turret's only 82mm all round, so this is a bit of a dangerous strategy. He's missing me, fortunately. But I'm just going to try and see if I can get to the top of his turret, but I miss anyway. I can't really pen. I've got to get his hull somehow. No, I'm searching for his hull, but I just can't see it. No. Oh, here we go. Alright, we sort of hit his track there. It didn't go through. He's fairly well angled still. Or maybe now I just shot the wall. So the accuracy on this gun and the other gun, or we might get one of this guy. Oh, didn't penetrate. The accuracy on the 85mm and the Howitzer are both pretty bad. I think the reason we didn't penetrate the side of that KV-1 was because we also had to go through a car, and I think the car absorbed some of the penetration. Just shooting away that building to see if I can get a shot on the Churchill 3. And the Churchill 3 actually fires at us, but we were very well angled. So now we put one in it. Ha! Didn't really aim it properly, but it went through the top of his turret, I think, or may even hit his cupola. It was a fluke shot anyway, if it did. So I think he was a bit unlucky there. So I'm trying to side scrap now this other KV-1. I'm being very careful. I don't want to stick my nose out, so I'm kind of using the wall and just moving my tank sideways. Now we've got a good shot on the front of his tank. Now as you can see, I was aiming at the drive viewport, but it went to the left. The accuracy is terrible, but it's still pinned, and we got another shot in too. So that upper frontal plate is pretty flat, and it's a good place to pen a KV-1 if you get a chance. And that KV-1 turned his back to us, so we managed to get rid of him as well. I see that I was going to move forward, but I see the Churchill 3 looks like he's going to try and get behind our KV-1, so I'm going to hang around and see if I can help out here. Yep, we get a nice shot into him there. I'm moving back now so the KV-1 doesn't hit me. Churchill 3 doesn't hit me, and looks like our KV-1 eliminated him, so that was good. So we've done all right here. We've taken a bit of damage, but not too much. The other tanks, they look fairly damaged. That KV-1's nearly dead. But it looks like we're going to win by a mile. The enemy team only has 3 tanks remaining, so we have lost a lot of tanks on our other flank, but it looks like we must have exchanged. Oh, SC. Wow, I am so glad he's not pointing at me. The gun on that French tank destroyer there is fantastic. I think the top gun does about 300 damage, and the other gun doesn't do as much damage, but it's a great rate of fire. I have reviewed that tank. It is a fantastic tank destroyer. So luckily he wasn't pointing at us, because he could have actually wasted us by the time we reloaded. Crusader, we should have a shot here. Oh, For once, the bad accuracy helps us out. My shot goes to the left. Just so happens he was moving to the left, so it worked out well. Stug bounces off us, and we bounce off him. He doesn't bounce that shot. Looks like he went for my lower plate, and I bounce again off his upper plate. Now he puts another one into me. Let's see if we can see where he actually was hitting there. Just the frontal plate looks like. Same plate so I was hitting the KV-1S before. So I decided to side scrape out, but he's moved now. He is the last tank left alive, and we're obviously going to win, so I might as well just go for it. So I'm just using the dead tank in front of me as cover until I get close enough. Now I'm actually side scraping out, and I'm being probably a bit too cautious, and we get the shot in, hit. I rushed the shot because I thought someone else was going to kill it before me, and our shot went through. So we actually end up hitting quite a few tanks there, and it was a class 1 badge, not bad. So you can see the 85mm, it's a good gun. And in that particular, because we were in a town, we didn't really reach the limits of the poor gun depression, the 3 degrees of gun depression. If we'd been fighting on a hilly area, we would have encountered that a bit more, and it is a limitation of the tank. So the next screen, we finished on top 4 experience, and I can't read the KV-1 under me. I don't know whether he did more damage than me or not. You'll be able to read it on your screen anyway. Next screen, and we fired 24 shots, of which 20 hit. Now that's pretty good. It was mostly close range work, of course, but that's don't always get that accuracy out of the gun. Of the 20 that hit, only 12 penetrated, so 119mm of pen. It is tough to pen KV-1s, and we saw that Stug 3 we had trouble with as well. 1525 damage though is pretty good. We received 10 hits, and only 4 of those penetrated. So when you're top tier, it will bounce shots. Mainly frontal shots from a KV-1 will penetrate you. The main reason we survived, we were mainly side scraping, so we bounced a lot of stuff, but the Churchill 3 KV-1s, even if you're angled to them front on, you'll normally get penned. So, but below tier 5 you're usually pretty safe. We what else? We blocked a bit by armor. We damaged 8 vehicles, destroying 5. That's pretty good. And a little bit about 280 spotting damage as well. And you can see that profit wise, using standard ammunition, the tank is quite profitable. We did is that 1100 XP, which is enough for a class 1 in the tank. Next game. So the map is Westfield. This time it's a tier 6 game, although there's only 2 tier 6s on the enemy team. They're both tank destroyers. The rest are tier 5s, and there's a couple of sort of tier 3s, tier 4s. So, yeah, moving forward. Now this Howitzer gun, I've got the 122mm Howitzer gun fitted in this game. So this gun, if you shoot from long range, you actually do more damage per shot because the shells tend to go very high and land down on top of the tanks, penetrating the top deck, the thinly armoured top deck of tanks, and doing massive damage. However, the chances of hitting at range are pretty slim. So you can play it either way. Anyway, but this game I've decided to be aggressive and move forward. So here we have this Jagdpanzer 4. Now he's not aiming at me now, he's backing away. Because his lower plate there we did 171, that's pretty good damage. I decided though not to stick around to get shot by him. He has continued down the hill though. So now we have a Howitzer, and someone else hit him before us, but we get the finishing shot. Only 61 damage. Unfortunately, we would have done massive damage to him because we hit him in the side, so unfortunately someone else hit him before us. And once again, the T-67 there would have done massive damage because he's got virtually no armor, but someone else takes him out before we can get there. How unfortunate. So there's an ARLV 39 I can see just there on the left, or is he right down the other side of the hill? I think he's right down the other side of the hill. French tier 6 tank destroyer. Not very good in my opinion, although has a great gun. So there's a KV-1. Now we're going to shoot his turret, 110 mils or about 80 mils. We shot the cheek there. 129 is actually pretty good. So we hit the cheeks of his armor, which are a bit thinner. I think it's actually just 100 mils, or it might even be 90 mils on those cheeks, although they're heavily sloped. But with the HE, it doesn't really matter too much. It just exploded on it, so the thinner the armor, the better. Now, I'm waiting to reload. I've reloaded now. I just can't believe there's not more tanks around. Then I see this ELC AMX hiding there. So he can't see me at all because I'm well behind this bush. I take my time lining up, and bang, he blows up. 400 health, gone. Now, you saw my sight wandering there. There seems to be a bug in the replays at the moment. They fixed up the jerkiness of the replays, and now there's a wandering bug, so the cursor wanders. Once again, we would have had a good chance of killing that Wolverine there, but I couldn't get the shot. But we've got the back of the Jagdpanzer IV, and the back is very thinly armoured, and we do 317 damage with that shot. Wow. So I've seen the AR V39 there. I'm worried there might be arty on my right, but I'm just going for this V39. It's a terrible tank destroyer. I have reviewed it. Like, it's got a great gun, but the gun traverse is terrible. So if you just drive around it, you can't do much. Now he fires at me, and unfortunately for him, he tracks me, hits my track. So I put one into him for 145. Now I'm just going to try and circle him because it's very, very difficult for him to turn and keep his gun focused. Now, gun depression, I can't get the shot. I actually have to back up, and then I get the shot, and I go for the ram as well. So I shot him and rammed him, and then someone else shot him. I think the Chaffee down there finished him off for us. So yeah, oh, gee, it's unfortunate to destroy that one. So now we just line up an Arty, and just being hit by the Chinook, which bounced. We actually only hit the track of Arty, but it was enough to do a bit of damage. And someone else finishes artillery off. And in less than 4 minutes, the game is over. Is it? No, they've still got one Arty remaining. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Someone just killed him. That's it. Alright, so another Class 1 game. This time we managed to get high caliber as well. And you can see there probably was a good demo of the KV-1S, how its extra speed and maneuverability, when we run down that V39 there at the end, you can see the speed and maneuverability of the tank can pay off. Like if we'd been in a KV-1, then it would have taken us ages to get to that that French tank destroyer, and it probably would have already been destroyed by the time we got there. So yeah, it does have that advantage, although you don't have the armour. So yeah, next screen, and we finished on top for XP, and we did 1583 damage or something like that, so on top for damage as well. Gee, it was a fast game. So 8 shots fired, all 8 of them hit, which is pretty unusual actually for the Howitzer gun, but it was mostly close range work. We did 1583 damage, as we said. We received a couple of hits, and we managed to... Well, it says we bounced both of them. I thought we took some damage. Okay, maybe not. Well, let's see. We damaged 6 vehicles, destroying 3 of them, and did a little bit of assistance damage, not much. And once again, pretty good income. Standard ammunition, doesn't cost too much. And the 916 XP is enough for Class 1. I think the last game we did 1,000 and something was still a Class 1. So I imagine Mastery must be about 1,100 or 1,150, something like that. Thank you for watching my review of the KV-1 Sport. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.